Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 5 articles for you in this episode. All the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The first article that I have for you is off of BizPack Review, and it says, Fed Up Veterans Group ignored by Elizabeth Warren fight back with open letter and catchy new nickname. After nearly 3 weeks with no response to their letter, a veterans group has crowned Senator Elizabeth Warren with a new name. A Massachusetts-based veteran group blasted Aleppo Liz in a letter last week after she failed to respond to a previous call to put military veterans' interests ahead of those illegal immigrants, the Boston Herald reported. Today marks the 20th day since Veterans Assisting Veterans, called the VAV, open letter to all Americans was first published. It also marks 20 days of silence from every member of the United States Congress and Senate. John McDonald, a representative of the Veterans Assisting Veterans, wrote in an open letter to the Massachusetts Democrat and the Massachusetts congressional delegation. "Do you stand with us or against us?" he asked. McDonald wrote that veterans across the country have communicated via countless calls and messages about the lack of appropriate care from Veterans Administration hospitals, and that elected officials need to stop putting illegal immigrants' needs ahead of those who have served their country. The Vietnam veterans had Hanoi Jane Fonda that provided comfort to our enemies during the Vietnam War. Today, the war of terror, illegal immigrants, and refugees that are foundation of civilized society here in the U.S., Europe, and abroad. Now we have Aleppo Elizabeth Warren standing with them and against all of us, McDonald wrote. Aleppo Liz is leading the way to thumb her nose at America and Americans by providing comfort to anyone other than the American citizen and our U.S. veterans. Those elected officials that support her stance and lack of understanding between illegal immigrants and those who are legally waiting in line is shameful and rife with their interests, he continued. A spokesman for the senator said that while the well-being of veterans is of utmost importance to her, she will continue to be critical of President Trump's immigration policies. The next article that I have is off the Conservative Tribune. Is House votes to restore gun rights to military vets. On Wednesday, the House of Representatives passed the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act, which, if signed into law, would protect the due process rights of military veterans. As noted by the National Rifle Institute, the act would prevent the Department of Veterans Affairs from banning veterans who receive disability benefits and use fiduciary to help manage those benefits from obtaining a weapon. The bill passed Wednesday was a follow-up to similar resolution passed last month that eliminated a requirement that Social Security recipients with mental disabilities be entered in the FBI's background check system. If enacted into law, the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act would ensure that going forward, veterans who use a fiduciary would not be stripped of their constitutional rights unless a judiciary authority first finds they pose a danger to themselves or others. The NRA wrote in a statement following the act's passage, "This ensures due process rights for all veterans." The core idea behind the bill was that a veteran's need for assistance managing his money does not make him a threat to society. If anything, a veteran admitting that he requires some help is an indication that he's smart and responsible, wouldn't you think? Not everyone agreed, though. A number of former President Barack Obama's officials, working in combination with Veterans Coalition for Common Sense, a national initiative launched by anti-gun zealot Gabby Giffords and her husband Mark Kelly, have submitted a letter to Congress demanding that the act be blocked. When vulnerable veterans have access to firearms, they can do harm not only to themselves but also to family members and loved ones, argued Bill's supporters, including former CIA Director and retired Army General David Petraeus. Yet the idea of a veteran being considered mentally unfit for gun ownership just because he receives help managing his disability benefits is simply absurd. It's anti-gun poppycock with no basis in reason and reality. And that, incidentally, is why the House was having none of it. The next article I have is off of BizPac Review. And it says, grandstanding Graham takes opportunity to at Gorsuch hearing to threaten Trump. You may get impeached. Senator Lindsey Graham used the hearings for Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch to threaten President Donald Trump with possible impeachment. The South Carolina Republican senator, who is a frequent opponent of the president, took several shots at President Trump at the end of his questioning of Gorsuch and made it known yet again that he is not a fan of the president. Gorsuch agreed with Graham that the Detainee Treatment Act prevents waterboarding before the senator attempted to get the judge on record stating that President Trump could be prosecuted and impeached if he approved waterboarding. In case President Trump is watching, which he may very well be, one, you did a good job picking Judge Gorsuch, he said. Number two, here's the bad part. If you start waterboarding people, you may get impeached. Is that a fair summary? Senator, the impeachment powers belong to this body, Gorsuch replied. Would he be subject to prosecution, Graham pressed. Senator, I'm not going to speculate, Gorsuch said. But he's not above the law, Graham said, attempting to get something on record to threaten the president. No man is above the law, the judge said. And the South Carolina senator gave President Trump a backhanded compliment. Congratulate the president to pick you, he said. Quite frankly, I was worried about who he would pick. Maybe somebody on TV. Wow. The next one we have here is off of BizPac Review. And it says, after boycotts failed, see who's bringing a lawsuit to try to shut down Ivanka brand. First daughter and successful entrepreneur Ivanka Trump is facing a lawsuit because of who her father is. President Donald Trump's eldest daughter is being sued in a class action lawsuit against her company, Ivanka Trump Marks LLC, because the lawsuit alleges the brand is being helped by the mere fact that her father is the president and her husband is advisor, Fox News reported. The lawsuit was brought by San Francisco-based Modern Appealing Clothing last week and seeks unspecified damages for retailers of women's clothing in the Golden State, as well as a block of her products from being sold in the state. It claims that her brand gets an edge from Donald Trump being the president of the United States and from Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared, working for the president of the United States, according to Fox News. The lawsuit also alleges that it got help from a tweet from the president that lambasted Nordstrom for removing Ivanka Trump's products from its store and from Kellyanne Conway promoting the brand on Fox and Friends. Plaintiffs will have even more to complain about now that President Trump's daughter has her own West Wing office and will be getting access to classified information. Her attorney, Jamie Gorelick, said that Trump will get her own West Wing office security clearance to access classified information and government-issued communications devices, but not an official title. Our view is that the conservative approach is for Ivanka to voluntarily comply with the rules that would apply if she were a government employee, even though she is not, he said. The White House counsel's office agrees with that approach. Ivanka will be Ivanka Trump will be consulted as a private citizen and not a government employee, according to Gorelick. Trump has taken a leave of absence from her company and set up a trust to provide oversight. The next article is off of Breitbart.com to Tillerson. We are ready for any war the U.S. would like. His foreign ministry warned Monday that its government is prepared to go to war with the United States, following remarks from Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, in which he said Trump's administration was prepared for a military engagement with the communist dictatorship should they strike U.S. allies. The U.S. the situation of the world with its eyes wide open. The DPRK has the will and capability to fully respond to any war the U.S. would like to ignite, The state-run Korean Central News Agency quoted a foreign ministry spokesman as saying, according to the South Korean newswire service Yonhap. If the businessmen turned U.S. authorities frightened the DPRK, they would soon know that their method would not work on the latter, the spokesman continued. The world will soon witness what eventful significance the great victory won by the DPRK in the recent ground jet test of Korean-style high-thrust engines will carry. Tillerson directly, the spokesman said he was repeating what Obama touted, much sanctions, until he left the White House. What matters is that neither Obama nor Tillerson know the reason why the DPRK had to have access to nuclear weapons and why it is dynamically bolstering up for the nuclear force. The North Korean official appeared to be responding to Tillerson's statements in South Korea on Friday, where he told reporters that the Trump administration would not back down in protecting its allies in Seoul and Tokyo. The policy of strategic patience has ended. We are exploring new range of diplomatic, security, and economic measures. On the table, Tillerson said, clarifying to one reporter that these options did include a military last resort. Tillerson also repeated on multiple stops during his Asia trip that he hoped to see North Korea's closest ally, China, take steps to ensure that, and I'm not sure how this is pronounced, Pyongyang, I think it is, abides by the United Nations sanctions. In China, Tillerson emphasized issues on which the two nations agreed, though reports suggested that he privately urged Beijing to cut economic ties with North Korea. Pyongyang appears to have received the message. In addition to the foreign ministry's response, the Rodong Sinmun state propaganda newspaper published a column Monday arguing that North Korea needs nuclear weapons because the United States will invade it if it does not threaten a nuclear attack. Our army and people will continuously bolster up our nuclear deterrent for self-defense down the road under the conditions that U.S. government officials adamantly stick to their hostile policy toward us, the column read. In addition to the public statements, North Korea tested a new rocket engine model on Sunday at the orders of dictator Kim Jong-un. The Rodong reported that Kim applauded the test as a success. He noted that the success made in the current test marked a great event of historic significance as it declared a new birth of the Juche-based rocket industry, turned into a development and creation-oriented industry, both in name and in reality, by completely doing away with dogmatism, conservatism, and formalism left in the field of rocket industry on technology of other countries. Kim said of the test, the whole world will soon witness what eventful significance the great victory won today carries. The rocket engine, experts presume, is meant to fuel the launch of intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. North Korea has been developing nuclear technology in the hopes of creating a nuclear weapon with enough reach to successfully strike U.S. soil. Reuters corroborated the claims in North Korea media that the rocket engine test was an advance in the nation's weapons technology, citing the South Korean Defense Ministry. And that's all I have for you in this episode, but there's more to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to enjoy the news. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that, and that way you'll stay informed. See you in the next episode.